Hello guys, welcome to the session. In this video, we are going to talk about performance measurement, and especially we are going to talk about how can we measure the performance for investment center. Before moving to the topic, guys, let me just brief you the basic backend definition, guys. If you have any organization from decision making point of view, we can divide this company into two types of structure. One is called centralized decision making or centralized structure, and second is called decentralized decision making or decentralized structure. Guys, what is the primary difference between centralized and decentralized? Guys, the primary distinction between centralized and decentralized organization is in the degree of freedom of the decision making by manager at many levels. Like under centralized, in a centralized organization, decision making is consolidated so that the activities throughout the organization may be more effectively coordinated from the top. Like here, decision making power is at the central place, but under the decentralized organization, in a decentralized organization, decision making is at as low a level as possible, because here we are going to just delegate the decision making power at the lower level. The premise is that the local manager can make more informed or well-informed decision than a manager further from the decision. Okay, so like if you have a company, maybe that company is operating at that company is operating in multiple countries. So guys, so at that time you should follow decentralized system, and you should, or we are going to delegate the decision making power at the lower level here. Okay guys, so here each decentralized organization, because here it's really important, each decentralized organization is divided into responsibility centers, and these responsibilities are also called strategic business units. So first let's understand what is the strategic business unit. Guys, actually a strategic business unit or SBU operate as an independent entity. They are independent entity, but it has to report directly to the headquarters of the organization about the status of its operation. I mean, it's about the performance. It operates independently and is focused on the target market. It is like this. These SBUs are big enough to have its own support function, like their own HR department, accounts department, their own production department, okay, their training department. So there are several benefits of that. Like for example, if I will give you example, let's assume we have a company, ABC company. This company is deals with electronic equipment. Let's assume this is the head office of ABC company. Okay, and these companies are this ABC company is having different divisions, you can say, inside. They are manufacturing different product. For example, it makes refrigerators. Okay, it makes, for example, washing machines. It makes, for example, air conditioning system, televisions also. So guys, these small, all these small units are formed as separate SBU. It could be a separate SBU, so that revenues, cost, as well as profits can be tracked independently. Once a unit is given an SBU status, like if you have given the status to this refrigerator manufacturing site as SBU status, it can make its own decision, its own investments, budgets, etc. It will be like, it will be your SBU, strategic business unit. Now guys, here please remember, here these responsibility centers or SBUs are generally recognized as what? It is recognized as cost centers, revenue centers, profit centers, or investment center. Now let's understand what is the cost center first, guys. I'm explaining this word. Cost centers, guys. Actually, the cost centers are, these are those division where just we incur the cost. It has no revenue stream. Okay, it has no revenue stream. For example, you could have a IT department, a repair and maintenance department. Okay, where just we will incur the cost. Okay, and then we have here another center which is called revenue center. These divisions has these division has the responsibility for the revenue stream. For example, sales department, this is your revenue center. Okay guys, then you have your profit center. I'm just quickly repeating this definition. The profit center, these are those division which has both cost and revenue stream. But here manager of this profit center does not have the authority to alter the level of investment in the division. They can't take the decision for the investment purpose only. Okay, then but the fourth category, which is called investment center, these are those division where where we have cost and revenue inside. We have here cost plus we have a revenue plus additional thing which was not present in the profit center. What's the additional thing here? The manager does have the authority to invest in the new assets or in the disposing of existing assets. So here it means additional word is what is the authority. Here manager is having the authority. Now guys, when it comes to the performance measurement, please remember here, especially for the cost center. So what we can use the cost side variances. We can calculate the variances for the cost side to assess the performance of the cost center. For example, if actual cost is more than budget, maybe performance is not good, but mainly we are using variance analysis. But on the other side, if you have a revenue center and you want to assess the performance of the revenue center, again we can use the variance analysis, especially for the revenue side. Like you can calculate sale price variance, sale quantity variance to assess the performance. Okay, or maybe you can also assess the performance of the revenue center in terms of maybe market share also. Okay, then we have here profit centers. For the profit center, again we can use, because profit center includes both cost centers and revenue centers. So it means again we can use the variance analysis for the cost side and variance analysis for the revenue side. Plus we can use contribution margin approach to assess the performance. Like it's a kind of income statement, and you will prepare the income statement for each profit center, and the profit center which is generating more income, maybe that profit center is performing well. Okay guys, because this is not my topic how to assess the performance of cost center or revenue center, like how you will calculate the variance. This I have already covered in the previous videos. So my topic is how can we assess the performance of the investment center. Guys, when you want to assess the performance of investment center, please don't forget, in investment center we have a three words. We have a cost center inside. It means we can use the variance, cost side variance to assess the performance. We have revenue center inside. It means we can use the revenue side variance along with other factors to assess the performance. Plus we can also use here because we have here authority to take the decisions, also authority to take the decision regarding investments. So if you want to assess the investments, we can use two ratios to assess the performance. First ratio is called return on investment, and second is called residual income. Okay, these two ratios actually we are going to cover. But again, to understand these two ratios, if I will directly start, maybe there is no point in that. So I have to tell you first few basic definitions again, which will help you to solve the question regarding these two topics. Guys, here we need to understand three words first. Three words, because these words will make difference. Really, it will make difference when you will solve the question. Guys, here we have here controllable cost. First word. What is the controllable cost? Actually, guys, controllable cost, there are two conditions. Number one, these costs are relevant to our SBU, are relevant to our division. Okay. And second one is what? These costs are under the control of divisional manager or SBU manager. If these two conditions are met, that is called controllable cost. Okay. Controllable cost, like it is relevant to our business, plus as a manager we have a decision making authority to alter these costs. That is called controllable. Then we have a traceable cost. Traceable cost, these are relevant to our business, but as a manager we don't have control over these costs. Like it is not under our decision making authority. For example, rental cost. Maybe if your rent of your factory or the factory location is decided by head office, it means this factory rent is relevant to us, but it is not under our control. So we will say it is a traceable cost. Okay guys, here guys, it just like note for exam, we assume all variable costs are controllable. We assumes in the exam. Okay, and but for the fixed cost, do we have a control on that or not? We need to check the question, please. Okay, then guys, there is another definition which is called third point, which is called common cost. Common cost, what? It is not relevant. It is not related to our SBU. It is not under the control of manager also, but still it is charged to SBU. For example, there is a guy's head office, and head office is having three, for example, divisions: division A, division B, division C. This head office cost is the common cost. This common cost is not particularly relevant to division A, B, or C. Okay, it's a common for all, but still these costs will be shared to these divisions. Okay, to remind them, because these costs should also be covered through these divisions. revenue or profit. So guys, this cost is called what? Your common cost. Why I'm telling you these things? Now I will tell you the real, I mean to say the main concept which is relevant to the exam. So here we go, guys. Here we have a note. This is note for exam, guys, because when you want to calculate the return on investment, or you want to calculate, guys, residual income approach, for that we need a profit. Actually, we need a profit value. Okay, which profit you will use, it is really important. So guys, usually how you will calculate the profit, you will write first sale. Okay, from the sale you will subtract all controllable cost. I'm using word all controllable. I told you what is controllable. If it is relevant to your business, plus it is under your control, that is called controllable. It could be variable or fixed or both. Okay guys, so this is called, once you will take sale minus all controllable cost, this is called short run performance margin. It is also called controllable profit. Controllable profit. And please don't forget, whenever you want to assess the performance of manager, so you have to use this controllable profit. Okay, then guys, from this controllable profit, if you will subtract traceable cost and common cost if you have any, so this will give you operating income. We should use the word here, operating income. Okay, operating income. If you don't have common cost, from the controllable profit, if you will subtract only traceable cost, this is called segment margin. But from the segment margin, if you will subtract one more, which is called common cost, so that is called your operating income. Now it is called your operating income. Okay guys, please don't forget. Now the point is that I'm assuming here we don't have any common cost is zero, assume. Okay guys, so if I will take controllable profit, from the controllable profit, if I will subtract traceable cost, this is called directly my operating income. Okay, now guys, when you want to assess the performance of division itself, so we have to use this operating income, okay, as a profit, please don't forget. Now guys, here sometimes there is a theoretical question. So what is the theoretical question? Please try to understand what I'm explaining here. So I'm going to explain here, when you assess the performance of manager or when you assess the performance of division, what is the similarity or what is the difference? Guys, see, to assess the performance of manager, we need this profit, and it includes controllable cost. Okay, and when you want to assess the performance of division manager, it includes controllable cost also plus traceable cost. So it means similarity is what? Both. When you want to assess the performance of division or manager, we need to consider controllable cost. And what is the difference? What is the difference? If you want to assess the performance of manager, only controllable cost you need to consider. And if you want to assess the performance of division, so you will consider controllable plus traceable. It means traceable costs are the different, because these traceable costs are not considered when you assess the performance of manager, but these traceable costs are considered when you assess the performance of division. Okay guys, in exam how you will do that, I will show you with the help of question. Don't you worry, I will perform certain exam standard questions. Now guys, here we go. Let's start now performance measurement for investment center. Guys, actually, as I told you, we are going to use two ratios. One is called return on investment, and second is called residual income. And when you want to use these two ratios, what is the main point? Actually, you are going to link balance sheet information with the income statement information. Okay, and what we want to see the performance measures for the investment center reveals what it reveals: how efficiently the manager is deploying capital means assets to produce income for the organization. That is why I told you, actually we are going to link the balance sheet with the income statement, like how effectively we are using our investments, I mean to say asset, to generate our profit. It is effective or not effective. So this is what we are going to learn. So here we go. We are going to start first with the return on investment approach. And guys, it is also called relative approach, because return on investment will give you answer in percentage. Okay, so that is why it is called relative approach. So guys, how you will calculate ROI? So simply this here, I'm going to start with a basic formula, and I'm going to add a lot of limitations in that formula, guys. So if you want to calculate return on investment, simply you need income of the business unit, okay, of SBU. We need a profit divided by assets of the business unit. Now guys, here if you will look at the income, which income we have to use, this is the problem. Now guys, here please note, income means operating income. Operating income means profit or earnings before interest and tax, EBIT. Okay, unless otherwise noted. Maybe if operating income is not given, maybe in the question he might give you net income, so you can use that one also, but priority is operating income unless otherwise noted. Now guys, when it comes to the asset, which asset we have to use, this is really important. Now which assets we have to use, here we have a note guys. In your exam, mostly what we will do in the denominator, we will use what? Total asset. Total assets mean to say non-current assets plus current assets. Or if total assets are not given, so you can use also capital employed. Capital employed mean to say, capital employed means say you can take total assets minus current liabilities. This is actually capital employed. And same calculation I can do this way also. If I will take net current assets, means say working capital. Working capital means say current asset minus current liability. This is called working capital. In working capital, I will add non-current assets. So again, this is called my capital employed. This is called my capital employed. Okay, guys. Or you can calculate capital employed another way also, how we need total equity plus long-term debt. Again, it is called capital employed. If this information is not given, so you can also use net assets. Net asset means a total asset minus total liability if capital employed is not given. By the way, once we will practice the question, you will automatically come to know which priority or which information you have to use. But I told you the sequence. The sequence is that first priority is total assets, then capital employed. If it is not given, you can use net asset also. Okay, guys. So here we go. Now let's understand the limitations, because if you formula is it looks very simple. Income of business unit divided by asset of the business unit. But there are some problems with this formula. First, I'm trying to cover theoretical area, and then I will do calculations. Don't you worry. So guys, what is the problem? So here we go. We are going to start with the problem. So here we have a limitations of return on investment. Number one, if you remember, what was the formula? We have a profit of the business unit divided by assets of the business unit multiplied by 100. So starting with the asset first, guys, in the denominator, we have used assets, which includes current assets and non-current assets. And if you will remember, the non-current assets, especially if it is depreciable, so how you record in the balance sheet, you record at balance sheet at this value, cost less accumulated depreciation. This is called carrying value or net book value. So what is the problem number one? If we will use assets with the carrying value, I mean say on the net book value for the depreciable asset, as I told you, you need to calculate cost of asset minus accumulated depreciation. You will get carrying value. The point is that what is the problem then? Problem is every year assets net book value will decrease. Why? Because over the years your accumulated depreciation will increase and your net book value will decrease. If your net book value will decrease, it means your denominator is going to decrease here. Okay, in the formula. So due to increase in accumulated depreciation, your net book value will decrease. It means your denominator in the formula is going to decrease overall. It's going to decrease. Automatically your ROI will improve. For example, if profit values is the same, it is constant, but because your assets carrying value is decreasing over the years, ROI will increase. This is the first problem. Then guys, we have here second problem. What is the second problem? Problem number two, what if we use non-current asset at historic cost? Like instead of cost minus accumulated depreciation, as I told you, this is called your net book value. Instead of net book value, because there is a problem, I want to use the cost of asset, gross cost of the asset. So what will happen, guys? Then it will be harder. It will be harder for user to differentiate between new assets and old assets, because we took all assets on the cost, so we can't realize which asset is contributing more to generate the profit. So this is another problem. Then guys, we have a third problem. Problem number three is what? Asset value. Because we have taken this asset value from the balance sheet, which is accounting data, and it is subject to the window dressing, because as the accountant, if you will just manipulate the accounting policy, maybe for the depreciation, you can easily change the carrying value of the asset. This is the problem number three. So what is the problem number four? Problem number four, guys, you will understand here with the help of example. For example, I'm going to tell you here, let's assume you are manager and your current ROI, for example, your current ROI of the division is 18%. but your bonus is attached with the ROI. Bonus is attached if your ROI will be 20%. This is what you will get the bonus. Now you got a new investment option, and you have calculated ROI for the new investment. You have calculated ROI for the new investment. That is, for example, 15%. And the target ROI mean to say, which was given by the management, like you can accept the investment if target ROI is, for example, 13%. Guys, based on target ROI. So because your new investment ROI is greater than target, so you should accept. But overall, as a manager, you will not accept. The reason is that because if you will accept this investment, which offers you 15%, it will reduce your current ROI, because current ROI is 18%. If you will take 18%, simple average, and you will accept the new investment with 15%, take the average, it will be almost 16.5%, because current your ROI is 18%. So your ROI will decrease up to 16.5%. Currently you are away only 2% away from the bonus, then you will be away 3.5% from the bonus. Okay guys, this is the problem number 3. Then guys, we have a problem number 4 also. What is the problem number 4? Problem number 5, they're telling you operating income, because the operating income which we have used in the profit, which is also called earning before interest and tax, again we have taken from the income statement, which is accounting data and which is subject to window dressing again guys. So but what is the rule if you are investing in the new projects? So decision rule based on ROI is that if proposed ROI, like if you will take proposed profit divided by proposed asset, multiply by 100, you will get proposed ROI. If it is greater than target ROI, so we should invest. I mean, so we should accept the investment without any doubt. Okay, guys. So now, guys, I'm going to tell you about the benefits of ROI. Guys, the first main benefit is that because it is a relative approach, as a relative measure, it enables comparison to be made with the divisions or companies of different sizes, because you get the answer here in the percentage. Okay, it ignores the size of investment, because for example, if you invested $10, you have a profit, investment is $100, it will give you 10%. If you have a 1 billion divided by 10 billion, again it is 10%. So because in terms of percentage, it is easy to compare with even with the different size of investment. This is the main benefit of ROI, but it can be broken. This ROI can be broken down into secondary ratios also for the more detailed analysis, like how you can calculate ROI. So you can take profit margin, multiply by asset turnover, but that is another we can use in accounting. But here in management, you should remember this formula. Okay, guys. So this is what is the benefits. Other benefit includes what we have a secure funding, because if you are borrowing money to invest into the project, and if the project is showing you a positive ROI, so it means you can recover your costs. It means funding is secured. So comparative analysis, I have already told you. Then guys, if you are calculating ROI of any existing investment which is loss making and answer is negative, so you can just close that segment because it does not add value. So this is what is a plus or minus point. Now guys, let me just tell you residual income also, because these are formulas, and after that we are going to apply through the couple of question, exam standard question. Now guys, what is the residual income? Actually, residual income is the variation of the ROI that measures performance in dollars. Like residual income is called absolute approach. The reason is that it will give you answer exactly in dollars rather than as a percentage return. So if you want to calculate residual remaining income, how you can calculate for any proposed investment or the existing investment, guys? So you can take this, the formula which you have to use. You have to take income of the business unit. Again, income mean to say earning before interest and tax unless otherwise noted. So you have to take operating profit. From there, you have to subtract what? You have to subtract the opportunity cost of capital, and that how you will calculate. You need total assets of the business. Again, it's the same problem. Which asset you have to use, as I told you above. But priority is we will use total assets. We can use capital employed also, which is equal to working capital plus non-current assets, or which is equal to total assets minus current liabilities. So, but priority is total assets of the business multiplied by Target return, if it is the proposed investment, if it is existing investment, you can calculate, you can use the existing cost of capital. Okay, percentage. So if you will get this value like total assets times target return, this will give you opportunity cost of capital. From the operating profit, if you will subtract opportunity cost of capital, you will get the residual income, and it has the same plus and minus point, guys. So but it is not a percentage, it will give you answer in terms of dollar. Then guys, let me just do few questions with you, then I will compare residual income and return on investment, because if I will continue with theoretical topic, maybe you will feel bored. So let me do just few question first, calculation, and we will come back for the theoretical points, more theoretical points. So guys, here we are going to practice first question number 1. The following selected information is from the financial statement for the last fiscal year. So this is, we have a previous past data. We have here current assets, we have here fixed assets, current liabilities, long-term debt, stockholder equity, we have operating profit, we have income tax, and we have a net income. The company has the cost of capital of 10% because it's existing information, so we can use existing cost of capital. Balance sheet amounts remain constant throughout the year. The company's residual income for the last year, you have to calculate residual income, guys. How you will calculate residual income, guys? Residual income is equal to operating profit, as I told you. And here in the question, operating profit is given here. It is 1 million. We have here 1 million is our operating profit. From operating profit, you have to subtract less what? You have to take total assets first, asset of the business unit. Total asset, how you can calculate? Here you have a current assets and you have a non-current assets. So if you will make the summation, this is the first priority. You will take 750,000 is your total assets, multiply by cost of capital, which is the 10%. You will just multiply with the 10%. So you will get the value, and how much you will get? I guess you will get 75,000 from 1 million. If you will subtract 75,000, this is going to give you residual income of 925,000. It means C option is the correct answer. Now guys, we are going to talk about here another question. Let's do another question, because if you will do the question, you will get to know the idea. So here we have a question number 2. Now in the question number 2, a company has recently implemented responsibility accounting in all 7 segments of the company. The following information is available for segment W for the last quarter. Again, it's a past data. We have here net working capital. Net working capital means, guys, current assets minus current liabilities. This is called net working capital. And next information, what we have property, plant, and equipment. This is also net. Okay. Then we have here revenues, 8 million. We have cost of sales, 6.35 million. We have a general and administration expense. Okay, guys. Now we are based on the information provided. If the company treats segment W as an investment center, what is the return on investment? And guys, for the return on investment, first let me tell you what is the formula. Formula is you have to take operating profit. Okay, operating profit divided by total assets. If it is not given, you can use capital employed. Okay, total assets are capital employed, multiply by 100. Okay, guys. So here operating profit, how you can calculate? He told you data here. For operating profit, you can write sales, and sale is your 8 million. It's given here. From there, you will subtract cost of goods sold, which is equal to 6.35 million. Okay. From there, you will also subtract general and administration expense, which is 180,000. If you will solve this one, guys, you will get the profit of the amount which is going to be equal to how much will be the answer, guys? Let me calculate, please. And guys, it is going to give you the profit of, if you will solve, you will get on the calculator 1470000. Okay, this is your operating profit. So we bring it here, 1470000, and now you will divide with the total asset. Total assets are here, guys. Here is the total asset. We have a net working capital, we have a PP net, If you make the summation of these two, it is going to give you 4,375,000 and just multiply with the 100. So you will get the answer, and answer is going to be 33.6%. It means option D is correct answer. Okay, guys. Now let's have a look to another question. So we have here question number 3 here, guys. They're telling you based on the following information and required rate of return. Okay, 12%. This is the required rate of return now. Maybe it is a proposed information. Which location has the best residual income? You have to calculate the best residual income. Okay, guys. So here we have a two division. This is the operating income, investments, intangible assets, and depreciation. So here you have a two division, M and D. You have a M and D. This is their data. So which is having the best, guys? So simply you have to calculate return. You have to calculate what? You have to calculate residual income. You will calculate for the both. Okay. If you want to calculate for the M, so simply you will take what? Residual income you have to calculate. Okay, guys, you are calculating for the M division first. So you have to take here operating profit, and operating profit is given here 300,000. From this 300,000, guys, you have to subtract cost of capital. Less you have to subtract cost of capital. For the cost of capital, you need to take assets. Asset is how much? 1 million, because he told you investments there. Investments, investment you have to take, because here he told you target rate of return. So take value of investment, how much you are going to invest. Okay, so you have here invest, you are going to invest is 1 million multiplied by target rate of return. Don't take only intangible assets. Okay, investment we should take because it's more reliable word here. So multiply by how much cost of capital is required rate of return, 12%. So this is going to give you some value. Just subtract, like from the operating income. From here, you will get one value here. Subtract from the operating income, you will get the residual income, and residual income is going to be $180,000. So same way you will calculate for the D division also. If you want to calculate for the D, simply take operating profit. Operating profit is given here. Operating profit is, guys, how much? $490,000. From there, you will subtract cost of capital. Okay, so you will take investment size. Investment size is 2750. Okay, multiply by again target return is 12%. Once you will solve, you will get one value here. Subtract there, so you will get final answer of the residual income. And guys, this answer is going to be lower. This is going to be higher. So it means you can just calculate on the calculator. So it means option B is the correct option. You can check just please on the your calculator. I guess it will be the answer B. Now, guys, I'm going to show you another question. We have, guys, another question here, question number 5. They're telling you business unit A has return on investment of 10%. This is your existing return. With the net profit for the year of 40,000, this was the profit which has been used to calculate that return on investment. The opportunity cost for the business unit investment has been calculated as 8%. Because it could be given, this percentage could be given with the name of cost of capital, target rate of return, opportunity cost, interest rate even. Okay, whatever is given, just use in the question. The company plans to purchase the new machine. We are planning to buy a new machine worth $100,000. This is the investment required, and expects the net profit to rise by additional 15,000. Like if you will buy this machine, your profit will increase by 15,000. The new purchase decision will increase the return on investment. So first it means your old return on investment is 10%. Don't forget, your old ROI is 10%. It means just simply I need to calculate new return on investment. When I want to calculate new return on investment, what I will do, I will take old data plus I will add the new information into that data. So old profit was, guys, 40,000. Old plus new profit due to this investment, it will be 15,000. So your total profit going to be 55,000 divided by old investment level. Old investment level is, it's given in the question or not? Just check the question, please. Guys, old investment is not given, but I can calculate old investment. How I can calculate, guys, old investment if you want to calculate? Because old ROI is given. What is the formula? Operating profit, which is $40,000 divided by investment, which is not given, but at least ROI is given, which is 10%. So I need to just reverse this formula. Now, how this formula will work now? Now, guys, we will take 400,000, sorry, 40,000 divided by ROI. ROI was 10%. So automatically I will get the investment value, and investment value is going to be $400,000. Plus I will add the new investment in that, and I will see what will be the new ROI. New investment is $100,000. If I will multiply with 100, so we will get 11%. It means ROI is going to be 11%. So here there are two options, option A and B. They tell you ROI to 11%, return on investment to 11%, to 11. We are confused now. A is correct or B. So let's have a work, because next part is the residual income. Calculate the residual income and then see which is the correct option. Now let's calculate the residual income. Now guys, if you want to calculate the residual income, increase in residual income, okay? So how you will calculate, guys? So simply you will take increase. Just I want to calculate increase in residual income, because here he told you increase, okay? So how I will calculate? I will take additional profit, which is 15,000. I'm just taking additional profit. This is additional profit. From additional profit, I will subtract additional cost of capital. And for additional cost of capital, I need additional investment, which is only $100,000. Additional, it's given here. Multiply by new percentage is how much, guys? New percentage is 8%. Once you will solve, so you will get how much? I guess 8,000. So once you will take this additional profit minus additional cost, you will get increase in ROI by 7,000. Now let look which is the correct option. So it means option A is correct, because here ROI will reach to 11% and increase in residual income is 7,000. Okay, guys, this is how the question will be tested. Now just let me take you back to the other theoretical parts. Please, guys, focus with me. So here, guys, we have here comparability issue, ROI versus RI. Guys, here please remember, sometime there could be a clash. There could be a clash. For example, you have a two investment option A and B. Just assume these are new investment option. You have calculated their ROI. Here ROI is 10%, and there here ROI is 12%. Okay, and you have calculated their residual income. Maybe residual income here is $100,000. Here is, for example, $800. Guys, if you will look at ROI, based on ROI, B is better option because it shows more profit. But based on exact amounts, A is better option. So whenever there is a conflict, guys, so we will always give preference to residual income, because this approach exactly tells us how much exactly we will get the amount in dollar. Okay, so always preference will be given to the absolute approach. And guys, I didn't tell you the decision rule for the residual income approach. If company has different investment option, for example, an option with the highest profit should be accepted. And by the way, if you have only one investment option, when you calculated residual income here, if answer is positive, it means we should accept it because you got a profit. Okay, guys, so you got a profit. So this is what is the decision rule. But if you have a multiple investment option, we should choose the option with the best highest return. Then, guys, we have other comparability issues, guys. I have already told you these issues. Like we have an alternative income measures include what we can, as I told you, we are using income of the business unit. I told you we can use EBIT there, operating profit, but you can use other also. You can maybe use the cash flows, based on cash flows, or you can adjust those maybe for depreciation. But this is not required even in the exam. He will tell you profit, whatever the profit. As I told you, preference will be given to the operating income. If operating income is not given, then look what is the next level of profit is given. Okay, guys, for the invested capital, guys, as I told you, invested capital means assets. I told you first priority is total. We will take total assets. I told you we will use total asset. If total assets are not given, we can use capital employed. But here again, there are so many different bases. It depends in which industry you are operating and which formula is being followed in the industry. So guys, here we can use total asset available also. We can also use total asset employed, as I told you, which exclude assets that idle, such as vacant land. Maybe you are just using those assets which are functional. Okay, you don't include idle assets, so you can use this also. As I told you, you can use capital employed, different measures you can use. And I told you also, guys, because even both profits and asset information you are deriving from accounting records, which are subject to window dressing, because if you will change accounting policies even for revenue or expenses or cost, it is going to affect your these values. So it means you can manipulate the easily you can manipulate the answer of these ratios. I hope guys it is clear. So see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.